Hi everyone, welcome to Goodbye Deli. I'm Chris King.
Alexander Boyd.
Today we're having our game rundown. So we're going to be discussing a few of the biggest topics that came out this past week, and we're going to just kind of break them all down for you. So starting with the first one, Nintendo has just actually kind of let out a job listing. I believe it was somewhere in Australia or some other kind of country like that actually leaked it. And they're looking for someone who's going to be a next-gen software engineer. Specifically, they're looking for someone who's going to be working on the graphics. They're going to be keeping, kind of track on the graphic movements of consoles and also with the software. So they want this guy to be working on, quote, the next-gen Nintendo platforms. Specifically, they also mentioned that they want it to be battery conserving. So there's a few speculation on that. What are your first thoughts?
Okay, so my problem with Nintendo has always been that they stuck to the traditional fun 3D stuff. Even though it is true that you should like the games, the actual gameplay and stuff, but I do like graphics. I guess I got spoiled with everything else. So it's nice to see that somebody's actually looking forward to the future of graphics, because we are already touching into that, like Twilight Princess. We had actually better graphics than the typical, smaller 3D looking graphics. Of course, we're going to have to keep Mario and Kirby the same, but as for this, it's like, I'm actually excited about this. I think it could pull forward. The battery conserving thing, obviously, is already talking about handhelds, unless they're actually talking about energy efficient as well.
Yeah.
So, and that's always nice. So it's nice because our TVs are heading there, most electronics are heading there, just waste less electricity. Yeah. So, but this sounds really cool. I'm actually for this.
Yeah, I think the best thing about this is that it's, 2 years after the Wii U, and obviously the Wii U has been abysmal as far as like sales go. But I mean, people don't remember that Nintendo has a lot of cash. They have a ton of cash just sitting in their war chest. So they have the resources, and they should be looking. They should be doing research, R&D for the future. Because obviously the Wii U was a failure. Just by no matter how you cut it, it's a failure. So and we're massive Nintendo fans, so we want them to succeed. I mean, and this is a good way to do it. Is do this decade of prep that you're gonna need, because I don't want to see another Nintendo console until however, but who knows? This could be for another Nintendo handheld. I think it's too soon for either way, but it's good that they're kind of doing the research ahead of time.
Yeah, and I don't. Hopefully, they change the name. Okay, change this whole thing.
Yeah, and don't use those.
Do not use. No Wii's and no Wii U's. Not we, all of us. Okay, I remember back then when there was a rumor that the Nintendo Wii was called Nintendo Revolution, and that's what we need. Okay, we need a big change, and this is that change. I have so much hope for this. I know they could take this and make it something awesome. They got a Wii U in pretty much every household. So, I mean, a Wii in every household. The Wii U, barely anybody has it. It's barely going to start moving because of the new Super Smash Bros. Coming out. Yeah. So they could do a lot of stuff, and I'm happy they're actually looking for change. Yeah. And they're actually looking forward, because they could do this. They could do this.
Yeah. And I agree. We call it the revolution, and you'll get a ton more sales. Yeah. Yes. So moving on, our next subject is from the next massive party is Sony. Next week on October 28th, they're going to be releasing their 2.0 update for the PS4. Usually we haven't been covering updates, but something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and this is a perfect place to start. We're mostly going to probably covering updates that include 0.5s and 0.0s. Those are the ones you really want to focus on, because the other ones are just kind of inaccuracies that they have to fix.
Yes.
They actually have a code name for this update. It's called Massimmune. Going back to Japanese lore and stuff, so it's gonna be big. It's gonna be hefty. Something I learned from this generation of consoles, even though we were day one adopters of the PS4, there was no rush in buying the PS4 in 2013. I think with this update, it's the perfect time to buy a PS4. If you didn't get it with the Destiny bundle, which I also called would be one of the best bundles you can buy, the 2.0, there probably won't be a bundle at anything, but this is the perfect time. This Christmas is the perfect time to get a PS4. Because, like I said, the update is needed. It's so needed. I mean, I was there from day one when this whole thing was not working and I was getting logged out and stuff. I still get it sometimes. It's pretty crazy. So this update is going to bring organization to the whole UI, which is needed. They're going to hopefully bring YouTube, because I can't access YouTube on my PS4. I have to use my Wii U. And the biggest thing as well is the share play feature.
Yes.
The first thing that I always said is the first next-gen feature of any of these consoles. You know, it screams next gen to me. Being able to virtually pass my controller to you, so you can control it, you know, from your household or someone else can. Although it bugs me that it's only for like an hour, you know. But I mean, maybe if it takes like you know an hour and then 10 minutes later you can do it again for another hour, that's fine. But it's a really big feature that's going to be brought on. So they've already uploaded a walkthrough that will kind of walk people through how it's going to work. So I'm excited for it. You know, not sure how we're going to use it yet, but hopefully there's a lot of interaction with you guys that we can use it for. So yeah, what are your thoughts with the?
Okay, so here I am again being the bad guy. This should have been number one. This should have been software 1, not 2.0. This is them promising a bunch of stuff and saying, here's the console. Oh, by the way, we don't have all that stuff yet. You guys have the beta. And then now here's the real full console. This should have come a long time ago. And yes, we need YouTube. YouTube is huge. You should already be in the software, okay? You should already have access to it. So, good.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad this has come. Hopefully they have some kind of compression because they needed a bigger hard drive for this. So hopefully they have something that allows you to compress things and make them smaller and don't take up so much space, because even updates themselves are going to take up space for your hard drive. So hopefully they just fix all these things. And sadly, we did have betas. That was pretty much a beta, and then now we have the full console. Happy for this. Move on.
There you go. Now, this is one that definitely is going to speak to you because you're a massive Gears of War fan, if anyone doesn't know. So, Gears of War, Phil Spencer has just kind of released a statement earlier this week. He's, you know, quote, the next gen Gears of War is not a reboot, but he hopes it will return to the original darkness of the first one. Says the franchise became a parody of itself. And as we know, it's going to be developed by Black Tusk Studios, which is owned by Microsoft, and they're investing in the next decade of Gears.
Okay, so I am a Gears of War fan. The darkness of Part 1 was this thing. I was at launch for each game. I was standing in line, got home, played it through. Played campaign all the way through. I remember I will pass out and not be able to play multiplayer until I wake up again, and I get mad at myself because that's how it should have started anyways, because multiplayer is awesome. Okay, so I don't know how you're going to continue this. Especially, we all know that it's a trilogy, and it wrapped up. So I don't know how they're going to do this. Is Marcus going to come back? I think they have to bring him back. Because it's not a reboot, or unless they're going to put some other place, and I don't even know what they're going to do. The Darkness of Part 1, how are you going to go back to that? I guess it's easy. I just don't know. I don't know what to think of this. I'm happy there's more Gears of War, because I want more Gears of War. There's nothing more awesome than a bunch of guerrilla people fighting and shooting up everybody with chainsaw guns that make no sense. But it's just, we could do this. If it's dark, we need darkness. At least I think that we need darkness. There's not many dark games anymore. Everything's becoming action. So it's nice to have some kind of a small thrill, like a thriller type of horror aspect to it again. Because Part 1 was pretty scary. It wasn't just like, here comes things to shoot them down. Here comes more things, shoot them down. It's just, I think this could be awesome. I want it to be awesome. I want like a Dead Spacey kind of thing, because that's what Gears of War used to be in Part 1. It was dark as hell. It was cool. You went to a lion's den.
I was going to say, I think that the best way, because I haven't really played the Gears of War like much at all, if at all, because the times I've been exposed to it was actually when I went to go see, you play a couple times. And to me, the multiplayer always seemed really strong. I think that, I do remember when Gears of War launched, the first one, I thought, this is a game that's either going to launch a franchise or it's not going to work. Because it was so obscure. It was so different than anything we've seen before. It's third person. And to me, it's one of the best third person shooters as far as like how like tank should work. The second one is Army 2. They both have very, very similar gameplay styles. So and cover systems that work. So I think that the best way to cure it is Gears of War Desolation. You make it doesn't have to have the title. But you make you have me. It reminds me a little bit too much of Judgment, but I think that would be a really good way to kind of reboot the franchise, even though it's not a reboot. But I think that, like I said, the best way to cure it is just bring it back to its roots and add a horror element to it. Like, don't have like 30, cogs or whatever it is that I don't know what the other.
Cogs are good guys.
Oh yeah, cogs. Cogs versus what's the high
Locust.
Locust. Oh, I'm trying to think of Halo and all this other stuff. So and Destiny, all that stuff. So. But you kind of add that element of just like take away, like, I mean, I know there's so like horde modes and all this kind of stuff. strip that away and just kind of bring in like 3 enemies at a time. You know, some 3 just kind of tanks. Give that horror element of using the chainsaw. You can't use a chainsaw when there's like 30 of the aliens surrounding you. So kind of bring it more and strip it down, kind of introduce a little more of a Dead Space feel to it. I think that would be a really interesting take to do Gears of War for the Xbox One. You know?
Yeah, this thing could be awesome again. You mentioned Judgment. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
It's just there's only been 3 Gears of War.
There's only 3. Exactly.
So we need to go back to that.
Yeah. Sticking with Xbox and Phil Spencer specifically. He just had an interview with IGN, and in his interview, he claims that he has, quote, several new IPs in the work, in-house. So they're first-person IPs that are in the works. And he says they're going to push the boundaries. Quote, I don't need another military space marine game or racing game. Mm-hmm. Says, and, we're going to get to the second part in just a little bit, but just with those kind of mentioned right there. Talking about new IP, they're in-house, so they're first-person IP, they're going to be exclusive, obviously. And the whole push boundaries, and then the other concept of not needing more shooters in racing games.
Okay, so this one is interesting because what are we going to do here? Is this adventure games? Are we going to have some fun family stuff? Are we going to have some drinking games? You know, it's just like there's some stuff like Super Smash Bros. Brawl was huge. They could do their own type of fighter like that. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to see Gears of War versus Dead Space versus Halo versus like all that stuff. They have this thing that they could just play around with. So they could do this. They obviously have Rare in their back pocket.
Yeah, and that's the other part of this quote. It says, Rare is working on something new that feels like a Rare game, and he's going to be pitched this game next month.
Yeah.
You know? It says, I don't want Rare to become the Kinect Sports team. So, I mean, my take on it is, I guess what you said, is it an adventure game? They've been looking for an answer to a lot of Sony's first-party games. So they want an answer to Uncharted. They got this year of exclusivity with Tomb Raider. Racing games with Gran Turismo, one of the most famous racing games franchises in history. They have Forza now, which is building up, a lot of steam lately. And obviously they have one of the best third-person shooters in Gears of War, and they're working on more of that. They also have, these other kind of deals with Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, and The Division.
Yes.
So they're working really hard to give us a reason to, go to the Xbox side for people who haven't. Numbers just got released. The PlayStation 4 is in the 9th month consecutively. It's the best-selling console.
Wow.
9 months in a row. And we weren't really going to talk about it until the 10th month, this final other month. But, maybe even a year. But so, I don't know. They're also playing catch-up, at this point. They want to bring in more IPs, and this is a good thing. This is a very good comment, I think. I don't buy the whole pushing boundaries things, because that's what they have to say. Yeah. But I thought Project Spark was a really interesting step towards that, allowing this creativity and adventure kind of feel that hasn't been on the Xbox. They're known for their shooters and racing games and zombie games, that kind of stuff. We need to introduce some more color, introduce something more to entice the younger audience of Xbox, because a lot of these other guys are just kind of the older, shooter fans, that kind of stuff, which is totally fine in its own. But we need to add a little more color and diversity to Xbox games, and not so much like getting the bros on your team.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is their chance to do something that indies have been doing for a long time. Like, actually get into the adventures, try something new. And, yeah, I'm excited for this. They could have their own version of outer space, because we need that, too.
I was just thinking the exact same thing. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. And I will say with the Rare thing, Rare has... funny, because they used to be one of my favorite third-party studios, and they have gone to one of my most disliked third-party studios in a span of 2 decades.
Yeah,
they made some of the best Super Nintendo games with Donkey Kong Country Returns and all that kind of stuff, and Banjo-Kazooie, all this other kind of stuff. All these games, I mean, they're classic. Killer Instinct, all that kind of stuff. Which they also have a fighter, Conquerors, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I don't ever believe Rare is going to be back to. Most of the guys from old Rare have left. So I do think that he has the opportunity to get him away from the Kinect Sports thing, because that is a nightmare in itself. But they bring him back to their their bread and butter, which is platformers. They have to do new platformers. So yeah, so that wraps it up for us, guys. Thank you for watching this video. This is our game rundown. So for more next gen game news and everything good, keep it locked to Goodbye Deadly.